Is there a God? Must he be all-powerful and all-good? The answer to these three questions, for me, is yes, yes, and maybe. Let me explain. Okay, the inspiration for this discussion came when I was listening to the audible version of Dr. Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. It was actually read by him, which meant that some of the personal stories and challenges that he includes in the book gain a whole new dimension for me, the listener, as it was actually him telling the tales around his sick daughter within the context of the points he's making. At one point during the telling of these stories, he poses the same question every parent asks when they're dealing with a very sick or even terminally ill child. They all ask, how can there be a good, all-powerful, loving God if this is allowed to happen? It happens again with every natural disaster, every outbreak of some disease, every mass killing, you get the picture. How can a good, loving God allow this to happen? When Jordan posed the question in his book, my immediate thought was, hang on, why does God have to be good? And I've had that question rattling around in my head ever since. I don't ask the question around the existence of a God or creator because I had already worked out a logical reason for a creator to exist a long time ago, and it is not bound to or by any particular religion. The flexibility given by that makes it really easy to ask more questions around it without any of the associated baggage that comes with any particular religious doctrine. And the Bible tells us that God exists and is all-powerful and all-loving. It's supposed to. It's nothing more than a user guide and a marketing brochure for Christianity. Have you ever read a marketing brochure that didn't say their product is the best thing since sliced bread in a toaster? Now, I'm not schooled in theology, nor am I fluent in the books, chapters and verses in the Bible beyond knowing they exist. Likewise, my knowledge of the Torah and the Quran is limited to knowing they exist. However, like the Bible, they are essentially just user guides on how to operate within those religions. One assumption I will make is that they all portray God as a big thing, responsible for all other things. Now that right there is a lot to get your head around, and people spend their entire lives trying to do just that. I don't have the bandwidth to pursue that kind of enlightenment, as I've got bills to pay and a family to feed. So, for the purposes of this video, and to help explain it in terms that ordinary people might understand, I'm going to scale the whole discussion down to a simple idea that can act as a kind of example of the concept of a God that I'm trying to explain. Now, because I have a background in IT, I'm going to use the concept of a system administrator managing a virtual machine in a Hyper-V environment as my example. Now, if that last handful of words means nothing to you, that's okay. Just understand that it is possible to make a virtual computer run inside your existing physical computer. This isn't a new concept and it's been used in complex IT environments for many years. Now, it's not my intention to teach you how to drive Hyper-V or anything like that. I'm just using it as a demonstrable example of making something with a predefined set of resources and rules. Okay, our system administrator decides to create a universe that will hold all the things he intends to make. For this example, I have a USB stick that I will call the universe, as the thing that holds anything I choose to create. In my Hyper-V console, I will define a virtual machine or world, let's call it the Earth, and in that world I will define what resources it has, how many drives, how big they are, also how much processing capacity it'll have, and if I want that world to see any other worlds I may want to make. So once that is defined, I'll build my world within those resources I defined. In this case, it will be a Windows 7 based world. Now, I won't bore you with waiting for the installer to run and all that tedium, so let's just fast forward to the end of that process. I now have a raw, brand new world ready to do something with. Now, in Windows, everything is managed by what is in the Windows directory structure, how things look, feel, and act within the Windows world. We could equate that to the laws of physics. Everything that happens on this world is bound by the laws of physics. If I want to install a program, usually that means installing stuff in the program files folder. In our real-world example, would recognize that as the laws of nature. So, We install a program in the Program Files folder, and it operates through the Windows folder to do stuff. So if we want to create life in our world, it is bound by the laws of nature and operates subject to the laws of physics. As a system administrator, I can create folders and files, etc. in that world. I can also remove them as I need. So, is a sysadmin like a god with a little g? Let's continue. With this simple example from the perspective of someone existing inside that virtual machine, the system administrator is the creator and master of that environment. The discussions between things that exist inside the virtual machine and the system administrator we see as dialog boxes to respond to. But from inside the machine, is it an entity reaching out to the creator with a prayer requesting guidance? If I, as creator, want to install some program in my virtual machine, I can certainly do that. If I find that program doesn't do what I thought it did, or started doing things I didn't want, or just started behaving badly, I can just uninstall it from the system. A number of years ago, there was an interesting game called Black and White, where you, the player, were cast in the role of a god. You could undertake tasks, perform miracles, and had plenty of opportunity to act both in good ways and bad. Being a good god, or a bad god, was not an either-or decision. You were just a god with the option to do both good and bad things in the course of the game. From a theological position, is it possible for the creator of our world to also be capable of both good and evil at the same time? How do you define those words, and from which perspective? Then it's probably a complete discussion better left for a separate video, because otherwise we'll be here all day. The point of view of the created is something else entirely, and from a much smaller perspective when compared to the overall environment of their existence. From a system administrator perspective, was the install and uninstall of any given program good or evil? Is uninstalling a program evil because it deleted hundreds of files and folders from existence? From a real-world perspective, was the meteorite that wiped out the dinosaurs evil, or was it just a form of uninstall to clear the way for something new to be installed? Scale up in size and complexity, and God could just be a sysadmin who created the universe with an intention to accomplish some specific thing. As creator, he will try certain things and see if they work. If they don't align with what he's trying to achieve, he can remove them and try again. Supernova, anyone? If you want to see how well your creation will stand up to the rigors of existence, you need to stress test it. Now, there are plenty of YouTube videos of PC builders stress testing their creations to see if they can handle an excessive workload. They make decisions and take actions based on the results of that stress testing. People who build cars and planes do exactly the same thing, subjecting their creations to extremes of heat, cold, airflow, impact, etc., to see where the flaws in their designs are. They then make decisions and take actions based on the results of that stress testing. Now, because things happen, things exist, that from our perspective are bad, this shows God is not just all good the way we might define it. Also, the possibility exists that these things are allowed to happen to provide historical examples of what to do, i.e. response to dictators, tyrants, natural disasters, plagues, etc. At the time, they seem hard or cruel and unfair, but that is also the time for unsung heroes to shine and give the rest of us hope. 20, 30 or 100 years later, the actions of those unsung heroes will provide guidance on how to deal with the problem next time it appears. In the 2020s, the influenza outbreak decimated many countries, and the people at the time would have been thinking, holy cow, how do we deal with this? And made some decisions and did the best they could. And the people that survived were a little bit wiser as a result. In the 2020s, the COVID pandemic did exactly the same thing, killing millions of people globally. The leadership of the day had the same thought. Holy cow, how do we deal with this? Followed by, hang on, what did we do last time? They made some decisions and did the best they could, and the people that survived were a bit wiser as a result. From my own experience of COVID, there are things that we did not do in 2019 that we do now on a regular basis because of it. Simple things like wiping down a table in the food court with an alcoholic wipe to clean it off. Didn't do that in 2019. 100 years from now, when the next big pandemic strikes, they'll be better again equipped to deal with it, simply because they're not starting from zero, but building on the wisdom gained from these last two pandemics. They too will think, holy cow, how do we deal with this? Followed by, hang on, what did we do last time? They will make some decisions and do the best they can, and the people that survive will be a bit wiser as a result. So, is our Creator allowing these challenges, these stress tests, to happen because in the long term, we as a species are stronger, smarter, better suited to survive because we have survived these challenges than if they never happened in the first place? Perhaps. Perhaps our Creator is just a system administrator trying things out to see what happens. Pandemic, anyone? In the course of my IT career, I have seen many complex environments that had virtual machines that looked after people. Another virtual machine that looked after the files and folders they made. Another that looked after their email. Another that looked after their accounting system. Another that looked after their procurement system. All these systems operate as a complete environment or universe that was designed to achieve a common goal of making that company work. Scale that up and you can see the parallels of multiple worlds, systems, even galaxies existing to achieve some great purpose. What that is, we may never know, but that does not mean that the greater design intent isn't there, and that some entity, some creator, isn't watching over their creation to see if they got it right this time. If not, what tweaks can they make to make it better? Evolution, anyone? If they made a complete hash of it all, there's no reason that they couldn't just trash the whole thing and start again. Big Bang, anyone?
Righto, that's enough about that. You know the drill. Hit the subscribe button and become part of our thriving community. Of course, if you like my videos, give them a big thumbs up and share them if you want, as that helps the channel out. And also hit the bell to get notified when I put up new content. Okay, that's all from me, so stay healthy, keep thinking. As my mum would say, be good, and if you can't be good at it. I'll see you next time.